Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer for this show, Logan Landers. And join me today to talk about the legendary head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, Vince Dooley, the one, the only, Jay McLovin. Jay, how you doing today, man? And give us your thoughts on this coaching great, Vince Dooley.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here, Logan. Appreciate you having me on. Vince Dooley, Georgia, the big Georgia coach, right? 64 to 88, six SEC titles in that time span, 201 wins, 77 losses, and 10 by way of tie. I just don't know how much better you get than that. I mean, this was probably the early risings of a Nick Saban right here, before Nick Saban became Nick Saban. I just don't know how much more you can say than this, Logan. I mean, the guy's been in the SEC for a hot man to get six SEC titles. I don't know how much better you get than that. I mean, you're talking about the great likes of Paul Bear Bryant's. You're talking about the Nick Sabans of the world. Rare company to be in at that stage of the game.
No, I mean, and we've seen in recent years, the great coaching at, you mentioned Nick Saban and company, and Kirby Smart, who's also done a great job currently at Georgia, just signed that massive 10-year contract extension with them. So he's trying to make his stamp as one of the best coaches, alongside Vince Dooley. But this guy was, felt like the originator in a sense. You mentioned six SEC championships is tremendous. And of course, you got to mention the one national championship they got in 1980, their lone one for many, many years before they won back to back. And I mean, it's a guy who was, went to Auburn originally, right? He was quarterback there, 51 to 53, before going into the U.S. Marine Corps from 54 to 56. Then came back. He was an infantry officer there. Came back out his master's degree in history in 1963. So obviously a very smart, very tactical guy in his youth and college. Then he said, all right, then he went back to Auburn, was a quarterback's coach there for a couple of years. And like I said, the crazy thing is, Jay, is that he was given the head coaching job at Georgia in 1963, but he had never been a head coach before. He went from quarterback's coach to head coach. And that's just how much faith they had in this guy. And like you said, he was head coach at Georgia for many, many years, from 64 to 88. I mean, God, so many, just countless opponents he's had. He won the first ever Bobby Dodd Coaching Award, right? When first ever recipient of that. And like I said, so many ups and downs, so many just tremendous moments he's had. Like I said, 25 years as head coach, over 200 victories, 6 SEC championships, coach of the year 4 times as well. And like I said, he coached all the way till 1988. Once he retired, Jay, he was the second winningest coach in SEC history, beside, well, a lot of people still pick as the greatest coach in college football. That's Bear Bryant. And that's what we're here to do, man. If we're here to shine some more light on Vince Dooley, because he gets some love, right? He gets some attention, but you obviously just think of, great college football head coaches. You think of Nick Saban, Bear Bryant, so on and so forth. But got to show some love for Vince Dooley with the longevity he coached for all those years. Like I said, you know how hard it is, Jay, to be a coach at one school for over 20 years?
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to do, let alone
that's a long time.
Let alone at an SEC school, which we know is the creme de la creme when it comes to college football in terms of conferences, in terms of, the best opponents and the best players. And then after he was done coaching, he was also, he was an AD there, an athletic director for many, many years, up till the mid-2000s. So he, like I said, he was tremendous there. Did a lot of good just for the, just for Georgia as a whole, as a state, as a school. He did some other great work as well. He enjoyed his retirement, did some gardening as well. He also wrote 2 books as well. He was an author. 2 books about Georgia's mascot. They were called "How About Them Dogs" and "Harry Dog's Journey Through the Peach State." So, I mean, just a guy who enjoyed life. Just did a lot. Of course, just so much good with his on the field record with how much he was able to just get things done. Went to multiple Hall of Fames, College Football Hall of Fame, Georgia Hall of Fame, Alabama Hall of Fame. I mean, because he was born in Mobile, Alabama. But just so many just lives he's touched, just so much he was able to do. The people he coached, just the amount of players he had go through his system to get drafted and move on. And obviously, Georgia thought highly of him. In 2019, they renamed the field Dooley Field. So, obviously, a guy who just put a lot of people on the map, put a lot of coaches, a lot of players, and just an absolute, just a tremendous tactician on the sidelines, right? Someone who could get it done, day in, day out, and is forever going to be tied to the University of Georgia as a coach, as an athletic director, and just overall a tremendous person. And like I said, he unfortunately did pass away back in late 2022 at the age of 90. So he did live a long, just tremendous life. He lived it as good as he could. And Vince Dooley has been missed here in North Georgia for quite some time. But his legacy will forever live on. Jay McLovin, man, I appreciate it as always. I thank you for coming on the show and talking about the legend himself, Vince Dooley. Guys, if you have any comments you want to share about Vince Dooley, be sure to put it on Facebook or YouTube. Also, go and download a podcast, which we have every single week. Once again, for Jay McLovin, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, enjoy the rest of your weekends, and we'll talk to you on another